Hey everybody, Moses here, and welcome to the first video in the PUBG University series. We are going to be focusing on the setup of the game as well as some of the other performance improvements I've employed to make my game run a little bit smoother, and I hope it'll work for you as well. Now, just a big caveat, a lot of these graphical settings and setup options can be personal preference. This is just how I set my game up. I've received a lot of questions as to how to get my game to look the way it does, but just as a general overview, some of this stuff might not be favorable for you or might not even give you that much of a performance increase, but again, let's just go over what I've done and hopefully some of it is helpful to you. So right out of the gate, I want to look at properties. Okay, and I want to go to general and then set launch options. Now you want to set the variable use all available cores, which will unlock all of your CPU's cores to be used within the game, as well as the memory allocation or malloc memory allocation variable to equal that to the system. So that'll use your system total memory, basically again allocating RAM to the proportion of your system size. At least that's my interpretation of that particular command. So these two are really great performance increasing variables, which I've noticed increase my FPS substantially. Again, because the PUBG is such a resource intensive game, hopefully that'll help you as well. And now a lot of this information I've taken from Havoc Prime and his guide on Reddit. I will make a link to this guide in the description. It's an awesome guide, and I really want to say thank you to Havoc Prime for putting this all together for the community. There's a ton of information in here, and I will be relying on a lot of the information he's used here in these videos, at least these first few. Moving on to the actual game itself, I want to show you how my graphics are set up. I play in full screen window just because when I'm streaming I need to be able to get in and out of the game relatively easily. Brightness is 50. And now I have my graphical settings set to custom. My screen scale is 120. Anti-aliasing is very low. Some of the anti-aliasing properties in this game can be visually fatiguing and confusing to the eye, just the way they've employed it in the game. So I recommend playing with this off or on very low. Post-processing is also on very low. Shadows very low. Effects very low. Foliage also very low. Now shadows and foliage I think are the two more important ones. Essentially, I try and play for the highest visibility possible. So having foliage on very low will decrease the amount of foliage on the ground, which will increase visibility for enemy players, which is to say you can see them a little bit easier. Shadows, same thing. When indoors, you want to avoid having, shadows obscuring potential players and what have you. So I have mine set to very low. Now I have my texture set to high, or ultra rather, because it just makes the game look a little less crappy. So this will be like your player model and some of the gun models in the game. But for the most part, I play on a very low setting, as well as having my view distance set to high. So jumping over to control, I have my general sensitivity set at 35. Now, as an FYI, I play on a 400 DPI setting. And under vehicle, you can see the numbers here. So essentially, I have my settings at 400 DPI around 35 all the way through all my aiming sensitivities except for my vehicle one, which is 50. One other thing I recommend from a setup perspective is making sure that you have your first aid keys set properly. Now I have my, that should be first aid. I have my first aid bound to Shift E. My bandages set to Shift Q, my boost to 0, mainly because I typically will open my inventory to use a boost item, and my med kit set to 9. Again, if I have one, I'll open my interface to do that. Aside from that, there's not much else I really recommend from a gameplay standpoint, other than to play with the controls and make sure that everything you have set up is comfortable for you. Now, a Autorun key is also very important. I have mine set to tilt, so you can auto-run and look around you while you're moving, from spot to spot. It really makes the Alt look key much more easy to use. You don't have as many fingers depressing keys. So I have my auto-run set to tilt and my Alt look, which is to the free look button left on Alt. So that's all I wanted to cover in the setup video. What I would really like is if you want something covered in this series of videos, or there's an aspect of the game that you're not quite sure of, please leave a comment on the video and let me know what you want to see. You can also jump into my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/wtfmoses. Come say hi and let me know what you thought about the video series. I'd like to release as many of them as possible, and I hope to get a few out today so you guys can start digesting and giving me feedback. But for now, this is the conclusion of our first video, and until next time, I will see you guys out there.